They called it a world war, but history had kept quiet about African soldiers' contributions to it. Now let's talk a bit about Kande Kamara. Kande Kamara, a young Sierra Leonean, never imagined that he would find himself in a sweltering Burmese jungle in 1944 facing down Japanese forces. But there he was, one of thousands of African soldiers fighting in a war far, very far from home. This wasn't just Kande's story, it was a tale of millions of African soldiers who shaped the course of 2 world wars, their contributions often overlooked in the pages of history. As Europe tore itself apart in 1914, colonial powers turned to Africa not just for resources but for manpower. But in French West Africa, the charismatic Blaise Diagne toured the region, recruiting over 170,000 men with promises of French citizenship and equality. Many volunteered, while others found themselves conscripted. Their fates were decided by colonial administrators and local chiefs. Senegalese troops shivered in the trenches of Verdun. The dark skin were a stark contrast against the snow. This was the famous Tirailleurs Sénégalais who fought valiantly in the meat grinder of the Western Front. In one brutal week at Chemin the Danes in 1917, they suffered 7,000 casualties, yet held the line against German forces. Meanwhile, in East Africa, a different kind of war raged. Askari soldiers serving both German and British forces engaged in a 4-year game of cat and mouse, led by the brilliant but ruthless German commander Paul von Lettow-Vorbeck. These African troops demonstrated remarkable endurance and skill in guerrilla warfare. World War II saw African involvement in an unprecedented scale. From the scorching sands of El Alamein to the steamy jungles of Burma, African soldiers were there. They played a crucial role in defeating Mussolini's forces in Ethiopia, with Emperor Haile Selassie himself leading troops back into his liberated capital. In the brutal Burma campaign, West African units like the 81st and 82nd West African Divisions distinguished themselves fighting Japanese forces. They adapted to jungle warfare with remarkable skill, often outperforming their European counterparts in the harsh conditions. Yet, for all their sacrifices, the soldiers faced relentless discrimination. Many, like the Senegalese troops in French labor camps, were massacred by Nazi forces in 1940. Others, like the African American soldiers of the 92nd Infantry Division, faced segregation even as they fought for democracy. The experience of war, the war of fighting alongside Europeans, of seeing the world beyond their borders, planted seeds of change. Léopold Sédar Senghor, a Senegalese soldier who would later become his country's first president, wrote poignant poetry about his wartime experiences, helping to birth the Netrigute movement. As veterans returned home, they brought new ideas and a changed worldview. In the Gold Coast, now Ghana, ex-servicemen marched in Accra in 1948 protesting poor conditions. This spark helped ignite the independence movement led by Kwame Nkrumah. From the villages of Senegal to the battlefields of Burma, African soldiers didn't just witness history, they made it. Their legacy challenged us to look beyond the familiar narratives, reminding us that the story of the world wars were far more complex and far-reaching than once thought. It was a story of courage, of sacrifice, and unexpected consequences, a hidden chapter in history that once revealed changed everything we thought we knew about the wars that changed our world. And until come your way next time, goodbye.